Yo, what's going on with y'all? This week I decided to delve deep into one of the first books I ever listened to, which was Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I'm actually looking forward to this because I remember this being pretty good, all things considered. All the same, beware because spoilers be lurking ahead. So, this book kicks off with two military men talking about how they figure out that Ender Wigging should be the savior of the world because aliens are coming to invade us. Already kicks off with a big bang and makes you want to learn why that might be needed, so good start. Then we're introduced to Ender and it becomes apparent really quickly why the military might be interested in him because even as a 6-year-old, he is incredibly observant and has a ruthless streak in him. While being treated by the doctor, he makes note that the nurse tells him he won't be hurt at all, but adults say this whenever it is going to hurt, so that statement to him is an accurate predictor of the future through its own inaccuracy. Later, when he's being bullied by another kid, Ender kicks the living shit out of the boy, not to hurt him or torment him, but to stop the boy from ever picking on him again, and it's later revealed that Ender has actually killed him in doing so. So, cold and animalistic perhaps, but not a bad quality for a military man that needs to stop us from being invaded by aliens, thank you very much. We are briefly shown Ender's family, including his older brother Peter, who is a psychopathic asshole. He regularly torments Ender and threatens to kill both of his siblings. He was also examined for the military, but was rejected because he was too cruel. Valentine, the middle sister, was also examined but rejected for being too compassionate, though all three children are incredibly intelligent. So, Ender was hoped to be half Peter and half Valentine. Brilliant and thorough, but compassionate enough to be a leader. Ender is brought into space to learn how to become a commander along with many other brilliant children. Even here though, Ender is clearly set apart from his peers. He ends up accidentally breaking a boy's arm on the way to the school after the boy was beating him in the head with a seatbelt latch. Later on, he ends up challenging an older boy to a video game he's never played, only examined, and ends up besting him in a 2 out of 3 match. Finally, he's promoted into a group called an army for one of the coolest imaginary games ever invented, the Battle Room. Children fly around a room with no gravity and shoot at each other with guns that temporarily freeze whoever they hit, and the army that can pass a soldier through the enemy's door first wins. I'm actually surprised this is something that never got made into a game in real life, kind of like Quidditch, as different as it may be from their literary counterparts. However, the point is that despite a great deal of adversity and shitty commanders that usually dislike him, Ender proves to be quick, sharp-witted, and willing to make himself capable, often thinking of things that no one else has. For example, in the battle room, he comes up with the idea of curling his legs underneath him to use as a shield in the battle room. Also worth noting that Ender never sets out to permanently harm anyone who's attacking him. He merely aims to win whatever fights he's in thoroughly, and if he feels that there's going to be another one, he attempts to win that before it even starts. This is hammered in over and over, and it's not a half bad way of making Ender sympathetic while showing that he's extremely capable from a militaristic point of view. So, we follow Ender's journey as he becomes a capable soldier and eventually a clever and half-loved, half-hated commander. It's interesting because while this book is about a bunch of young kids, they aren't treated as children. And while I get that from a perspective of a military attitude and all, it's a bit odd that we bother making them children. I get the impression this was important to Mr. Card, although I have no real idea why. Nevertheless, we follow Ender through his victories and struggles, and even a couple of points where he gives up completely, trying something insane that shouldn't work at all. Yet, in all of this, he never fails to win. And that was a little concerning because along with the uncharacteristically good personality trait, it does tick a few Gary Sue boxes, but it's not as bad as other things. Anyway, after some coaxing from his sister, Ender agrees to travel to the final command school, which is on a blacked out alien world, and this section of the book changes pretty dramatically. He basically is put through such intense training that he goes a bit psychologically insane. He starts suspecting his teachers of spying on his dream, he accidentally mutilates himself in his sleep, and he stops eating. Still, in all of this, when he reaches what he's told is the final test, once again, he gives up because it's impossible. Yet, in his insane idea, he actually finds something that works and blows up a planet to win, learning just afterwards that it was actually a real battle, which sends him into a spiral, and as he realizes he killed many, many people and aliens alike. This leads to a really cool section of the book that shows the effects of war on Ender and leads him down a bit of a breakdown, although it ends rather suddenly whenever he meets many of his friends from the battle school. Now, there's a lot of stuff I just skimmed over or didn't want to talk about at all, but that's the Cliff Note version. So, in the end, I still quite liked the book, but there were a few things that could have done with some tightening up. And I know that Card feels the same because the companion book that was written 10 years later, Ender's Shadow, does much of that as well as deepening and retconning one of the stories of one of the side characters from the book. Still, overall, it's pretty damn good and can even serve quite a few interesting discussions about morality, war, and even politics. So, well done book. My personal score for this book is 8.5 out of 10. It was pretty damn good. There's some stuff that could be done a little bit better, but still enjoyable. Let's go ahead and take a look at that bingo card. And we actually filled out quite a bit of the bingo card, even hitting bingo twice. So, hey, good for me. Anyway, that's all for this time, so if you have something else you want me to review, go ahead and leave a comment down below, let me know. If you want to see what happens next time, make sure you subscribe. Until then, drink plenty of water, tell your parents that you love them, and stroke your mustache at night.